Hi. There's no beating around the bush with this one. This is the game where Cortex works with the Axis powers in order to defend shiny objects. First he fights in Vietnam, then he joins the Nazis in World War II. We're talking about a franchise where the main character is a handicapped orange rat that wears boxers. This is Crash Bandicoot Warped. No 3 for some reason, despite clearly being on the logo, but the spine of the box says there is no 3 and it's just Crash Bandicoot Warped. And as you can see, this is a collector's edition, released with a box set along with Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash. You want to know what this whole thing cost? $50. This is a copy of Crash 1 without the manual, therefore meaning that there's no box art. This was $60. Why is this the most expensive game in the trilogy? It is the worst one. Crash Warped released exactly 1 year after its predecessor, and as before seeks to improve in every way. And to start, the story makes a lot more sense. After being shot down by Embryo, the Cortex Vortex crashed into a temple holding a mask similar to Aku Aku named Uka Uka. Cortex has been working for Uka in the last 2 games, but because Crash has the gems and the crystals, Uka is furious with Cortex for failing him twice. Uka brings in Dr. Nefarious Trophy, that's Entropy for those of you keeping track of the puns in the series, who has a time travel / warp room that can take them to before Crash got the crystals and gems. Aku Aku senses that Uka has escaped and takes Crash and Coco to the warp room to stop them. So Crash and Coco, who's now playable in the animal riding and jet ski levels, go from the time of the dinosaurs to the distant future to get the crystals and gems. Once you've beaten the final boss with 105%, yes I said 105, the time twister goes haywire and sends Cortex, Trophy, and Uka way back into the past and reverts them to babies. Or maybe it's the future, who knows. I'd ask why Crash never changed age, but I assume the twister was just malfunctioning at the end because it was broken. So yeah, the story was definitely improved by making sense this time, and thankfully there are just as many improvements to the gameplay. To start, there's more level variety, medieval, Egyptian temples, Route 66, and even the 7 Seas. Also, now the box count actually shows you the total boxes in the stage, which is really helpful for the bonus stages. Bouncing crates only take 5 bounces to break, making them less tedious, but what's easily the biggest improvement is the moveset. Now after beating a boss you'll get an upgrade. This can range from a larger belly flop to a double jump and even a fucking bazooka. But the crown jewel is easily the Death Tornado Spin. A super spin that lets you glide in the air when paired with the double jump lets you make skips like this. I also think the bosses are a massive improvement. I don't think I even really mentioned them in the last video, but Tiny's fun even if I can cheese the lions, Dingodile is tense even if I can slide spin jump over this barrier, Entropy is really cool even though the depth and the speed of his attacks aren't ideal, and if you mix the slide spin with the double jump you can skip the first phase by jumping over, you can skip the first phase by, you can't skip the first phase. Engine is a massive improvement. He upgraded his suit and now it's impervious to Wumpa Fruits. Good thing we upgraded to lasers. And Cortex is fine, it's kind of tedious because of all the waiting, and during this phase you can't see where Aku and Uka are if you move too close to Cortex. But beating him gives you the last upgrade, a run button. Yep, Crash can now run full sprint, which in a normal run would be useless because you're done, that's the final boss. But for 100% these are essential because of the new collectible, Relics. After beating the level with the crystal, a clock will appear that changes some of the boxes to time crates that stop the clock for the amount of time shown on it, and removes all of the Wumpa Fruit for some reason. There are 3 relics you can get per stage. The Sapphire Relic, which is the easiest and as such does nothing. At least as far as I know. It might unlock the secret levels, but I don't go down there without all of the gold relics first, so I wouldn't know. Speaking of the gold relics, they're what's needed for completion, the second hardest to get, and mostly give a good challenge. Getting all of them causes Coco to give you the gem in the warp room. The last relics are the secret platinum relics. They require borderline perfection. You're not even told the target time for these anywhere in the game that I'm aware of. Maybe in the credits, but I think those are different times specifically. I don't fucking know. But anyway, despite being the hardest to get, they do absolutely nothing. You'd have to be insane, borderline psychotic, to even think about getting all of these. You'd have to dedicate a month of your life just to playing fucking Crash Bandicoot. Well, maybe the bragging rights are worth it, and to make a pretty good YouTube video. You wouldn't catch me going for them. I had a hard enough time getting the gold relics. Now, I'm not sure why, because I've never seen this with other people playing the game, but in my experience for this video, this was by far the glitchiest game of the trilogy. There were graphical bugs, sometimes the layering was off, there were 2 crashes, sometimes I was saved by a glitch, and sometimes this happened. Hey Aku, get your ass back here, I need you! And when you're rushing through levels, it only takes 1 glitch to ruin your run. Like, look at this, I didn't press X twice, I jumped to the bars like I did every other time, but Crash decided that for some reason life wasn't worth living anymore and fucked my whole run up. And it happened more than once on this stage that I was already having a hard time on. I thought I had a pretty good run, but that was only Sapphire, which means I had to load back into the warp room, then go right back into the level. Then I got stuck here because the platforms are too close together, which killed runs. Sometimes I got burned despite being way up here, and I spent so long on this level that I ran out of disk space while recording in the middle of the next one. I thought it was going to be like a 20-minute long session. I hadn't deleted everything from the Crash 2 video or the Crash 1 video he had at that point. I'm really bad at computer management, don't fucking judge me. Also, the tiger levels, while they didn't take long, they were kind of disorienting because while dashing it's kind of hard to tell where everything is because of the road curves. And the bike levels can suck my dick, especially Area 51, where the gimmick is that you can't see the time crates that you need to hit to stop the clock, or the pits in the road that kill your run immediately. And it doesn't help that the UFOs drive like they're from Massachusetts. I really like the Relics as an idea. I think getting them to access the secret levels is a much better idea than the cryptic secrets in Crash 2. But I can't help but feel like some flopped on execution. Most of the levels are a lot of fun to rush through, plan a route, it's like a mini version of speedrunning, but others are so annoying that it left this really bad lingering taste in my mouth, and it might just be my experience. Again, I don't know if the glitches were only for me, but it's what I played and I have to review that, so the glitches are just part of the experience, and it really messed up how I felt about this game overall. But it doesn't change the fact that you're now required to play through every level at least twice. This isn't a problem for most levels. Speedrunning them makes you tackle them in a new way, and it's different, it's fun, but it just doesn't apply to every level. The bike levels are already about racing to the end, and aside from being to hit the time crates, nothing has changed with these. Same goes for the plane levels, but that's even worse because there are no time crates to hit. There's no difference in how you approach them. But speaking of secrets, while the relics are better than random warps and levels, the way you access these super secret levels that for some reason are only accessible through their secrets, they don't show up in the warp room, Hot Cocoa and Agapis Rex, is even dumber than everything Crash 2 does combined. So for Hot Cocoa, you need to hit this alien signpost in Road Crash. And why would you be looking at the road signs to find secrets? I'm asking you. But also, why does the alien sign in the motorcycle level lead to a jet ski level and not, I don't know, the fucking motorcycle level where you race aliens? Since we're on Hot Cocoa, this is one of the best levels in the game. The jet ski took some getting used to for me, and I still think it sucks ass during relic runs, but this is a completely open level. You just have to find the nitro detonator to open the exit. It being open does make finding all the boxes harder because of the low draw distance, but if you're thorough enough you'll find them, especially because of the better box tally. Also, because of the game's glitches, my past experience, and my tolerance for the jet ski at the time, I thought I was going to spend hours getting the gold relic. But in a run that was objectively complete and utter ass, I was not expecting anything from this, I got platinum. I forgot that the US release had a different time requirement than from the UK and Insane versions, and whoever decided to make the relic times this bullshit for UK audiences only surely must have had some kind of very personal beef. Look at this time difference. Alright, so I'm editing the video right now, and originally I'd planned to just, put up the times for the American version and the UK version, just show the difference. But when I googled it, I saw that I didn't even get gold based on this graph. I did a terrible run, and it just gave me the platinum relic. Like, I know I said this game was glitchy, but it just handed out a platinum relic on one of the hardest stages for it. Jesus fucking Christ. The other super ultra too good for the regular secret warp room secret level, Agapis Rex, requires you to have the yellow gem, which means that you need to get enough relics to enter this warp thing to access a hidden path in one of the previous levels. Then you have to go to this specific point in the gem route and let the pterodactyl kill you. This specific pterodactyl, not this one, this specific pterodactyl, and it will bring you to the secret level, which is fine. I could go on forever about how stupid this secret is, but the level itself is fine. I don't really have much to say on it. In fact, I regularly forget it exists on a routine basis. In fact, would you look at the time right now? What were we talking about again? The game has a lot more variety in its gameplay styles. There's animal riding like before, but now you can also swim, race on a bike, and fly in a plane during World War II, where the aforementioned Cortex Nazi thing shows up. The planes are probably the weakest kind of level. There's only two and you just fly in a straight line shooting at something, then when it explodes, you turn and go for the next one. And the racing one is pretty cool, but I was burnt out to hell and back by this point. Aside from the relics, the rest of the completion process is pretty much one for one with Crash 2. Breaking boxes, finding secrets, beating death routes, and everything I said in that video applies here too. And if you haven't watched that video, then please do so as soon as possible or I will start crying, embarrassing both of us. However, this game took twice as long to complete as Crash 2 because the secret road is locked behind the relics, and there's a lot of things you can't get until post-game, and this is where, in my opinion, it starts to fall under Crash 2 in my personal ranking. For a casual run, this game improves on Crash 2 in every way. Better movement, better levels, better quality of life. But because the relics require you to play through every level at least one more time assuming you get the relic on your first try, which you won't, I think Crash 2 is just more fun to complete. I mentioned in that video that I already had 100% by the time I got to the end, meaning that there was no need for cleanup. But in this game, that's just not possible. You pretty much have to do an entire second playthrough minus the bosses just to unlock the levels that have the rest of the gems. And because of how the time trials work, that second playthrough is pretty much like playing on hard mode. Levels have time constraints and no checkpoints. Also, you can attempt the time trials before getting the crash dash, and there's no indication that I'm aware of at least that tells you about an upgrade being basically required for these. For a casual playthrough, aside from the quality of life I mentioned and the upgrades, there isn't a lot of praise I can give this game and not Crash 2. And as a completion experience, I had a more frustrating time with this than Crash 2. I had pretty much a 1 hour recording session because I got stuck on Area 51. And I still recommend completion because that's what I like about Crash, but there's a big ass asterisk in my recommendation. But don't get it twisted, this game is still really good. Pretty much everything I said at the end of the Crash 2 video about it just being fun to play and do everything applies here too. The issue is that the extra length this game asks you to go for completion is a lot bigger and way more annoying. And the worst parts being towards the end leave a bigger impression because they're more recent. Just for some perspective, it's been a little over a week since I got all of the relics and finished that part of the game, but it's been a little over 3 weeks since I beat the game just normally, so I remember a lot more of the relics. A lot that is more fresh in my mind. I remember all of that frustration and that anger and how annoyed I was and how many times I just wanted to quit, throw my controller down. All of that is a lot more recent in my head because the game asks you to do all of that last. The beginning, just playing through the game, is so much fun, and then the rest of it is either just okay or extremely frustrating. While I can't say which one is better, I can definitely say these games are on at least equal footing as PS1 platformers that I highly recommend. But no platforming IP for kids is complete. Please tell me that is not broken, I swear to God. No platformer IP is complete without its spin-offs, so join me next time when we look at both Crash Bash and Crash Team Racing, the last of the PS1 games, and the last of the Naughty Dog games. This one, not this one. This one was a Naughty Dog. Until then, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you haven't watched the Crash 1 and 2 videos, then go watch those now, and while you're at it, why don't you watch my other reviews? Even though I still am not putting anything where my hand is, they're on the end card, with the playlist and the subscribe button. I don't know why I do this shit with my hand as if I'm a good editor. I'm going to remember to do that later. But hey, congratulations on getting to the end of this video. Unfortunately, you were 0.1 seconds overtime for the gold relic, so take the Sapphire Relic that I for some reason turned into a blue cup that is on my desk for some reason, and get the fuck out of here. Although, I can be bribed if you like this video and subscribe with notifications on. How many times do I have to say that before I become a real YouTuber? Yeah, that's gonna be the background. Just all of my Crash games. Actually, it's not even all of them. I have a second copy of Crash 3, specifically the collector's edition. I have 2 copies of this game. Yeah, that'll be something to put at the end. That's something I can put at the end.